Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Late Night on Base. I'm your host, Bill the Bull. Super excited for this episode. We got Altcoinist, and this is dope because as a creator myself, I think encouraging, giving value to creators to then give back to their communities, to their loyal listeners, viewers, is really important. And I think bridging that gap between Web 2 and Web 3 is needed. And I think these guys are the right team to make that happen. So super happy to have them on. Guys, how are you all doing today?
It's a pleasure to be here, man. Thank you for the invite.
The pleasure's all mine. And I know Constantine, you're out in Bali, right?
Yeah. I am currently outside of our hotel room because my girlfriend is sleeping right now inside.
Can't wake her
So
up.
and it's 2 a.m. So, but hopefully I could escape outside and have this lovely conversation with you guys
I
about
love it. I
creator
love it.
monetization and stuff.
No, I know. I think people are gonna really come to really appreciate what you guys are doing from both sides because
Thank you,
it's a
man.
win-win. If creators get paid, then the value that they give out is even better for their fans and consumers. And we all want alpha. We all want access to some of these people that are providing real value. So for instance, like I think facilitating a way. I know traditionally there are certain KOLs in the game that have started using X. So X, for those that don't know, X is like basically where crypto people come to learn all their alpha, right? And I know traditionally you can now, subscribe to some of these people. They have their private groups, but it's very bare bones, and it's just like, oh, you have. It's not private like alpha groups. It's just I think they have like private streams or something like that. But very basic. You have to sign up with the fiat. You have to accept credit card. You guys though are doing a little differently. And so I want you guys to kind of explain. And for those that don't know, you guys are targeting Web3, those that know how to use smart wallets and all that stuff. So if you guys don't mind, for those maybe looking at this on Spotify for the first time, maybe they're at Coinbase Wallet, they saw my Just interview, and now they're exploring what I have to offer, and they're coming across Altcoinist for the first time ever. If you guys don't mind, what is Altcoinist?
So we've basically put together a monetization gateway that helps creators monetize, share revenue, and also helps them manage a community. While the community is actually hosted on platforms like Telegram, Discord, and so forth. So as opposed to the conventional models of community hosting, which would be like Patreon, School, and so forth, where you're kind of locked into the platform while you're hosting the community and monetizing, here you can do the monetization through us, which is all on chain, and then you can host the community wherever you want. So there's several upsides to this, but one thing that we noticed, which was the largest issue, which is apparent in Web 2 just as it is in Web 3, but even worse in Web 3, is like monetization being a big pain point for a lot of creators. 7 out of 10 creators in Web 2, they monetize through brand deals, the majority of their income, while actually this trend of private communities and monetizing your audience through just giving more value through info products or a community is a much more lucrative way to monetize. And it also favors all creators and caters to all sizes, because you can literally have like a 5,000 follower account, 10, 15, 20. You're going to be able to do a private community and serve a certain percentage of your followers through that community, as opposed to having to rely on brands to come to you for sponsorships and generate you deal flow that way. Not to mention, we're noticing a pretty strong shift in terms of actual really good, solid value-based creators not wanting to do a lot of paid deals anymore due to, kind of the backlash that's been thrown around in Web3 right now. So it's kind of primed right now that we actually did our product launch recently. So, but the basic fundamental premise is, hey, you have a creator, you have an audience, you can provide a private community, whether that's on Telegram or Discord, and then your followers can come, sign up through your link, pay on chain and ETH, subscription based. And then when they join the community, they can get access to all your alpha. And then in addition to that, which is kind of the cherry on the top, there's also constant revenue sharing going on between the creator and the community. So you can think of it as both the community and this pool of revenue sharing gated behind the subscription, which is in ETH. And the way the revenue sharing works is a portion of the revenue that the creator makes is constantly funneled into that community pool. When a member subscribes, join the community, the pool opens up and they can stake to generate yield from the pool as well. So that's like the cherry on the top. But the core premise is the private community being the fundamental value.
Yeah, and I think the private community is what gives people more sense of family and sense of loyalty. Being able to tap into a creator that has now taken the time to create a private community where
Yeah.
you feel special. And
Yeah.
once you feel special, it's not just like you're not just another, viewer on X.
Yep.
A lot of these, creators start to get to know the people. You know, I was telling you, I joined Bullrun Gravano's group, just wanted to support him. And like just seeing him, I'm getting to know him better now too, because I feel it's a smaller group and he has 150,000 followers. So
Yeah.
like that's a way to give back to, fans and those that, want to, get closer to their favorite creator. So it's a win-win. And the thing that I do like is I think on chain is it's kind of like a buzzword, right? People don't
Mhm.
really know. It's like everyone talks, oh, we're going on chain, we're doing
Yeah.
this. But when you actually utilize something on chain and you allow something to be put on chain, it's a game changer. And that's what you guys are doing,
Yeah.
because now if I'm subscriber and I want to, get into Bullrun Gravanos, for instance, I don't need to worry about a credit card. I don't need to worry about giving my personal details. I can be living anywhere in the world and I just need to use Ethereum,
Yeah.
smart wallet.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. So for a creator, you now are tapping into the global liquidity of crypto, this
Yeah.
$1 trillion plus asset class. And you know that you have people all around the world who are into crypto, who are following
Yeah.
you, versus traditional methods, you're kind of just stuck with like, those that can accept Stripe, credit cards. So I do like that. And I think that's something that's needed to be able to tap into that. So let me ask you, Konstantin, what do you think so far has been in your mind? What has been one of the pain points for you specifically? Like when you guys have started establishing this, has it? I'm sure as any entrepreneur, you guys have encountered some difficulties along the way. Specifically, you, what have you encountered that you may have not foreseen?
Um, it's a really good question. Basically, you described how it feels to be entrepreneur. So that's a constant feeling of that, uh, especially in this volatile and dynamic market. And I think it's really important or key attribute of a founder to be able to listen to the market and to adjust his vision in a way where it aligns with the current market, current people, even though if your vision is longer term, and sticking to your core values to the end goal, but being able to adapt and iterate slightly. And I think the main idea of Altcoinist was to elevate the content in this industry and to highlight and champion the people who create the value-based content. And we had different ideas how to solve it, and we went down really down into the rabbit hole of content creation, social fi, on-chain monetization. We spent 1.5 years to fine-tune this thing, which is also not complete now, in a sense where we don't know where it can evolve. So crypto is a really weird place where you figure out something and people will use it for different type of things. And I think it's beautiful, by the way. So like as Vitalik couldn't know that there will be meme coins called Shiba on his network. He just wanted to build a smart contract platform. And now I think our biggest challenge is to figure out what's in the need of the current market and how we can voice that need and reciprocate that. And I wouldn't say that there was one specific challenge. I think this is a constant thing. You need to be better day by day, week by week. And but it's really important what you just mentioned, that yes, it's really cool to bring these things on chain, and it's really untapped. So like the combination of social media and on-chain finance is a match made in heaven. So it's just we like the market couldn't crack it so far, and I think we did a pretty great job with that one, and it's just now our job to help unfold this from a brand level to make people understand what we understand already, and yeah, that's it.
I think the hardest part when innovating is that if you're really early, and also, there's a great book that talks about like blue ocean versus red ocean strategies. We're definitely in the blue ocean, but we're so early with being with this in Web3 that right now, like literally right now, we had a 2-hour call internally about, okay, how can we refine our messaging to adapt it more towards the market currently, even though our vision is like, hey, solving creator monetization problem, championing value-based creators. But if that's not the core dire need of the market right now, then we need to be adaptive in terms of our messaging, because you can message our product in a myriad of different ways, right? But just because that's our vision, that doesn't mean that that's what the market is going to be resonating with today, especially in a crypto-based industry when trends are just like changing every 3 weeks, right? So I think touching on that, that's probably one of the biggest pain points of most founders in Web3, which is marketing and building attention, understanding attention flywheels, converting attention into a product. I think it's just not just the pain of Web3 founders, it's the pain of the entire industry, because I've had calls with 40 plus marketing agencies in the last 4 months, and we're working with 2. And I can just on my one hand count the amount of people we even considered working with. We're not just adapting some form of gimmick strategy that works now and probably just generates you a bunch of numbers that you're not going to do jack shit with down the line. So, and it's interesting when you're looking at the landscape of Web3 in general. There's a reason why there aren't not a very big cohort of consumer facing applications that are actually widely adopted. If you think about that, it's an interesting concept as well. Like, why is that? I mean, number one, there's a lot of tech related angles we can dive into, like just subscriptions being a big problem in Web3 up until a couple months ago with the smart wallet. And then also, like in general, it seems like we've been so early with the builders that we've had. It's been so tech heavy, and people don't really understand like how you actually successfully scale a true SaaS modeled startup. It's very rare, I would say. And right now, I'm actually looking into Web2 advisors and so forth who can come onto the team in addition to what we already have. Who have, because we already have that inside in our advisory board, but then it's different working with Web3 advisors versus Web2. That's why we were so happy when we got our endorsement from Explore Capital. But yeah, what are you saying, Konsti?
Yeah. Just to reflect on that, another thing which is really important, I think, is to have extremely like different type of individuals in a team, like people who are from different worlds, different skill set, and now. Christian and me, by the way, we are best friends and we are totally different personalities. And when it comes to business, he is a Web2 goat. So he has a lot of experience in Web2 marketing, a lot how to scale businesses and stuff. And my experience is in crypto. So I've been in the trenches for 7 years. I live and breathe with the crypto market. And now we think that we have, or I think that we have an interesting point where we need to bring these 2 worlds together. And just as Christian is watching mentors from Web2, how to scale these type of businesses, I also try to analyze Web3 projects. How could they succeed? And just I was researching about the very innovative and successful new products in crypto during the last 12 months. And they were all related to making more money. And that was the conclusion. Is it bad? Is it good? I don't know. But the takeaway here is that, okay, how can we leverage their success and bring it into something that's actually solving a big problem on the long term? And now I came to the realization that we need to articulate that Altcoinist is basically just how you said, bringing creators and their followers closer together. And what's the benefit from both parties? The creator, I mean, let's start with the community members. They have access for information. They have access for alpha, and that's the most heated up thing you want in a bull run now. And for the creators, you get access to monetization and growth. And the beauty of this, that if we articulate this, then the long-term effect of this is value valuable followers going into the circles of valuable creators, and having these microeconomies getting built up through this on-chain monetization gateway, and eventually moving this market to, if you are valuable, you get a lot of money. I mean, like, you gonna be really successful monetarily as well for the first time in the industry from doing the right thing. And how I see is that now we should have a short-term strategy where we make this very clear for both parties, that for creators, you can earn money by doubling down on content and serving the people who already love you, and for end users to articulate that you can, if you want really edge on this market, you need access to information.
Yeah.
If you want to ROI, you need information asymmetry. And the best way you can spend, let's say, $100 should be, let's say, in 4 weeks, to spend into the top 10 alpha trenches on Altcoinist. And that should be the best way you can spend $100 if you want to make money. But
I mean,
yeah.
sorry to kind of,
Yeah, that's it.
Bill, you've been in, Gravano's project group, like just in the last 2 days, he's
Yeah.
like shared massive alpha. So, the funny thing is, it's beautiful when you actually build a product that solves a real problem. Like, you can, because the messaging kind of, you're going to be iterating on that. And especially in an industry like ours, I think it's going to be iterated on as we move along and scale the product as well. But if you've built something, as I said, that solves a problem, and the very problem from an incentives layer that you have been looking to solve, which for us is like, hey, we need to evolve into an industry where we're not championing and people are not listening to people who are just like, and essentially misinformation that is just paid for. Because that's what's kind of that's what has been happening. And that's obviously that's a really long journey to get there, and we understand that we're not going to be the only parties who are going to be able to crack this. That's why also we're partnering with the projects that we're partnering with, in order to help this and tackle this from several angles. We're tackling it from a monetization perspective, incentivizing the right people with the right tools for the creators, and then we have like Cookie 3 and then protocols who are tackling from a data standpoint, giving the correct on-chain and off-chain data points to analyze creators for projects, and bridging the gap there that is very, very dire right now too. But yeah, so circling back to your what the biggest challenge has been, I think it's that, like, understanding that your vision can be intact while you need to constantly iterate on your messaging, and understanding, which we have understood for a long time, which is, it doesn't matter how good of a product you've built, because we're not in 2017 anymore. You can't just slap Web3 or blockchain on top of something and you're not going to get a bunch of users, because everyone's interested in the new thing, because there's a shit ton of new things happening, and attention is diluted into thousands of new assets being generated on pump.fun every single day. So it's like, you need to understand the game of attention, even though if you've built something very innovative and really cool, and something that actually solves a problem. And it's way, way more complicated than people realize. Like, it's just, you should not be confident and you should not be proud if you've just slapped a 100K campaign into like a Galaxy or like a Zeely and built like 500K follower X account, which you then funnel into a Discord to generate a bunch of like community members who don't really care about your project. So, which is the thing that 9 out of 10 projects do. So, and that's why also the charts, by the way, of course, the market is affecting that, but that's why also the majority of the charts of these large VC coins actually do these strategies look as they do, because they don't have a core user base. They don't have a core community.
Yeah. Sorry, is it breaking up here? No, sorry, I think it was breaking up. No, I think there's a lot to pack in what you just said. I think you can't really fake a community, right? That's the hardest thing in crypto. And I tell projects all the time, you can have the best idea, you can have the best utility. It literally means jack shit if you don't have a core group of people who believe in your project. Simple as that. Community is literally everything in crypto.
Yeah.
Literally everything. And so as an entrepreneur, and we're all entrepreneurs, I understand the sense of like having to, you know where you're going to go, but you always have to constantly evolve as to your messaging. How do we get to the point to resonate with the people at the current moment? And in something for you guys, like you guys are just tackling something that's so new, and no one else is really being able to do this. It's going to take some time to get there because you guys are so new into
Yeah.
such a new like
Yeah.
industry. So it makes sense why you also have to go into like the web 2 aspect as well, and I like that, tackling it with web 3 experts, but also web 2 can help funnel in and mark and make it such that you'll have easier time to generate that interest with the web 3. It's the same thing with my podcast too. Like I'm very crypto focused, but like even now I see the need of getting into the web 2 as well to bring in that audience, that idea, that strategy, because it's only going to help the web 3 part grow, and that's where all of our bread and butter is. So yeah, I mean, I just see kind of where this is going, and I think right now you're in literally the prime opportunity as the bull market heats up. People need access to alpha, as you guys are saying, but people need early access.
Yeah.
There's information everywhere, right? Information's everywhere. By the time it hits X, it's kind of a little bit late. You're not that early. I mean, you're earlier than the normies, but being able to get access to information, alpha, in a private group before it gets onto X, I think is incredibly important. Like Bullrun Gravano, he posts a bunch of stuff before he posts on X. As the market heats up, having access to a private group is just so beneficial. I mean, your
Yeah.
network is everything in life, in anything you do. And so for those that are consumers who are going to follow their, KOLs that they really like, being a part of a private group, that is beyond the most alpha you can get because of
Yeah.
private. We all have private groups, and we all help each other. You can't do it alone. Christian, let me ask you this before I get into a base discussion, is because I'm curious to know about that too. Why start this project in the first place? What led you to be like, hey, you know what? Were you a creator yourself and you realized I need to monetize what I'm doing and I'm not happy with it? Or like, what was the inspiration that got you to creating Altcoinist?
So we've kind of already touched on it, and I mean the very original idea of Altcoinist was built around the same concept as we need better information because it's so scattered. It's just that it has evolved into something completely different as what we imagined around 2 years ago when we sat down for the first time. It's like, okay, we want to build something. It was actually Konstantin and Mate, because we have 4 co-founders. It was Konstantin and Mate who sat down 2 years ago, and they were like, okay, so Mate's been in the space since 2012. And then we have our 4th co-founder, Silo, who's been here since 2011, our lead developer. And what Konsti and Mate talked about was, okay, we have all this information, but it's like so scattered, like the DYOR issue, if you will. How do we solve that? And like the first initial idea was like, oh, we're going to do like a project review platform. It's like, so where creators can come and do like their deep alpha insights. And then Elon came around and he was like, hey, here's long format pieces of articles you can put out. And we're like, fuck.
Yeah.
So, and obviously that initial idea, it made sense, but then we started breaking down the business model of it. It's like, okay, how's that going to generate revenue? And we very quickly realized, it's probably not the way to go about it. However, the problem as like, how do we solve this? It was still there. It's just that we're tackling it from the wrong angle. And the more we dove into it, the more we realized was, okay, where is this coming from? Like, what's the underlying mechanism that is driving the fact that we don't have curated value-based content? Like, what is happening? And then the more we unpacked it, the more we came back to incentives. And it's like, okay, creators are incentivized to actually page show. They're incentivized to push content that isn't necessarily value-based. And the people who have most the attention are incentivized by this the most. That was a weird sentence, but like the largest accounts have the strongest incentive to pay chill because they get the most deal flow. And the creators who are small still and very value based, they're like, fuck, they have all this massive alpha that they're pumping out in their socials, but it's like, they're not getting rewarded for it. So a lot of creators actually stop after a while because it's so much work too. And that's where we were like, okay, so what sort of monetization strategies are there as a creator and so forth? And that transitioned us into doing market research about that. And then we were like, okay, we need to test this. So let's start building a brand first. And that's where Konstantin's journey of 7 years being in the trenches got like activated, which is like, okay, let's build a KOL.
Yeah.
It's like, let's build a brand that is basically a KOL and let's see what happens. And the beautiful thing here was what we were trying to achieve was we were trying to find some form of product market fit through us before launching the product. And that's what we started. So we started the account like December of 2022, right? Constantly something like that.
Yep.
We started building. And then after 6 to 7 months, we hit like 25, 30K followers or something like that. I think 9 months. And that's when we're like, okay, we got it starting. We got started, approached by projects, and we were like, okay, this does not feel like, is this really the way? Like we got all these people.
Yeah.
And the way we built our brand basically was we did project reviews about the most alpha projects we could find and like long format reviews, which was like basically the concept of the project review platform, but we built it through a brand instead on X. And it got like massive traction because we were like the only ones doing in-depth reviews on projects and long format articles on X back then. It's like we were the only account from what we could find. And we were like, we got like 20, 25, 30,000 followers here, but it's like, we're not getting jack shit from it. It's like the revenue sharing thing came out, or the ad revenue sharing of X started like launched like just a couple of months after we started the account. It's like, that was nothing. Yeah. We're like, okay, so if we're not taking any paid deals, we're generating inordinate amounts of volumes into the charts through our project reviews. Like we did one on Epoch. We're really close with Zach. When we found like Oliver, one of our analysts, he found it like 1.9 million market cap, and it went to 9.3 in 8 hours after our review. So like our community was really strong, and we were like, okay, so there's definitely something here. There's definitely like, why the hell do we have all this power, all this attention, and nothing is monetarily being rewarded back to us? And then we realized, okay, there's definitely something here. So we basically built out the fundamental idea. We looked at what the best forms of monetization there were, which is private communities by far. That's why the trends you see of Patreon, school, and so forth in Web2 on the rise so heavily. But what was interesting for us was, okay, why isn't this being adopted in Web3 then? If this is such a lucrative form of monetization, you have all these creators making tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a month through their audiences, and they're not even that huge. Like, why the fuck aren't people in Web3 doing this? Like, why is that? Obviously, there's two sides to that. Number one, you lack solutions that aligns with the ethos of Web3 creators, but also you had this inordinate, abundant amount of capital being thrown around at people by projects who were able to raise inordinate amounts of capital that they shouldn't have through VCs because there was just so much money to go around. Yeah. Which is also something that is actually definitely going to change in the next couple of years. Like VCs have learned their lesson for sure.
Of course.
For sure. So the amount of capital projects are going to be able to raise already, this cycle is much different than it was the previous one. Next cycle is going to be even harder, which is a good thing because it actually promotes real builders to build solid products. But it's also going to make the KOL thing, like this whole gimmick that we have going around in this space, be much more harder, which is also a good thing because then that drives progress. Like there's this great quote. It's everyone knows it. It's like easy times build strong men build good times build weak men. And then it's like the flywheel goes around, right? So like difficult times drives progress, both from a KOL standpoint. If people are not making any money, they're going to figure out ways to make money. If that's by promoting better valuable content, monetizing the right way, that's what they're going to do. If they have the right tools, they're going to do it that way. And that's what we were able to identify like really early on already, like I would say September of last year when we started raising our first round. So I know it was a really long-winded answer to your question, but that's kind of how we went about it.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, that's the best type of things, like with entrepreneurs, especially when we face a problem ourselves and we know there needs to be a solution. That's when you can really get behind something because you've you've experienced it.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense. And I think like I said, being able to monetize as a creator is extremely important, and especially for littler accounts, the
Yeah.
5 to 10K. It's like, it's one thing if you're like 100 plus thousand followers and you can show whatever. You're gonna get you're gonna capture attention. People are gonna pay you, but the ones, in my experience, some of the best callers in alpha and crypto are the smaller accounts
Yeah.
who are just grinding. They just
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
it because it's what their livelihood depends on. They're really in the trenches.
Yeah.
And I think you're 100% right. The VC kind of game of throwing money to all these projects is dying. And I
Yeah.
was around in 2021. I was actually a part of a project and we raised a few million about in this like thing that we're doing. And now, and there was no working product or anything, and a lot of companies were like that as well. Now, as we're shifting into a meme coin culture where it's free, fair, like fully diluted at launch, free, open market, there's no vesting periods. Like anything to do with vest now is literally looked down upon. Like there's no reason to, because the only people who make money with token unlocks, honestly, are the VCs who are dumping on you and the KOLs. So I think there's not going to be as much money to like bigger accounts, but the smaller people need to eat as well, and that's where you guys come in.
Yeah.
So I want to, before we end, I do want to turn the attention on to base, because you guys had the ability to probably launch on any chain. You guys had the ability to, you obviously had a ton of followers. You built your brand. So when it came time to launch, you guys launched on base. I want to know why base.
So you should hear Korsti anytime he finds a good project with a good product and also good tokenomics and good founders, and they built not on base but on like another chain. He's like, what
Not
the
on
fuck are they doing?
Are you a base maxi?
Yeah. So the whole idea was before we had a big brand. I mean, to build on a base before we had a big brand was more than like 1 year ago when I read the Coinbase master plan, and base was a really important part of that. And I also read the documentation about the smart wallet plans, account abstraction, consumer facing apps, so how to bring the economy on chain while not giving up on user experience, and that was everything I needed to know. And that's when I told the team, like, guys, we need to build on base, trust me. Source, trust me. And yeah, back then base had 10,000 users or something. Now they have 50 million, so cumulative users, and 11 million active users. And they launched smart wallet, which is a game changer, which is uncomparable to anything out there on the market. And
Why is it a game changer in your opinion?
because a wallet needs to be smart. Why? Because money needs to be smart, and it's the gap between smart wallet and traditional wallets are so big than um, riding a horse or driving a car. So it's like what you can do with smart wallet and account abstraction is like unleashing the real power of programmable money. And this way you can build consumer apps where you will find crazy things in the coming years. So like now base is I mean smartplat is rolling out the session keys, which allows to give permission to an application to use your funds in a way which you allow. And
Exactly.
yeah, that's really powerful, because now you can combine automated actions and programmable money. So you can basically tell to an application to invest on your behalf and DCA into a project based on your strategy, all while you keep control of your funds and not using any third party services. I'm sure that people don't get it, how big this is. And the funny thing is that even subscriptions, the most powerful monetization strategy for businesses, tech businesses, is fully untapped in Web3. So why? Because the biggest USP, one of the biggest USP of crypto is full ownership on your property, and true property. By the way, the first real true property was existing is existing through Bitcoin, through blockchain. So before that, we didn't have, even your real estate is not yours. And now, and but it had a trade-off as well, that if you have full ownership, then you cannot do a lot of fancy things, and subscription is one of them. And session keys is the is like that bridge between the best of all worlds. And our lead developer gave massive alpha on crypto conferences years ago about account abstraction, and the whole wording is like abstracting the complexity of crypto, which is the barrier to entry for the next billion people. And that's why we are building on base, and that's why we are really bullish on all the efforts what Jesse is doing, because they are not skipping the hard work. They are doing the hard work. They are gathering the builders around them, and they are
They
like,
understand the power of creators and attention. Like there's
as
a reason
well,
why they're
as
so
well,
creator
as well,
focused.
as well. And I get all the super layer ones and layer twos and everything else. The third third 30th layer two, which we don't need. But no one's doing what they're doing, and the biggest thing they do is focusing on the consumer, the end consumer. And that's hard because you need to build real products for that. So you don't really find another chain who's building products for consumers and developer friendly environment. It's really hard to see something like that. Maybe Solana is trying to to be that retail friendly chain, and they have great ideas to do that. But I would also risk to say that Base is ahead of Solana in a few ways.
Yeah, I think you guys made the right decision going on base. Obviously, I'm bullish on base. I'm bullish on the prospects of, the leadership from Jesse all the way down. They understand what it takes for them to onboard a billion users, and I think they're going to do it. And you guys are going to be the forefront of allowing creators to monetize themselves. And I know you guys are going to be big. And like I told you, Christian, I don't waste my time talking to people if I don't find them either interesting or that they're going to be a big deal in the future. And I know you guys are going to be a big deal. Christian, before we hop off, any last words you have for the Altcoinist community?
Um, thank you for everyone's support so far. If you guys want to align on this vision of actually making the industry champion, value-based, and solid alpha creators, then feel free to sign up, check out the leaderboard. If you guys like anyone you find, subscribe to them. Like literally, I think Gravano's sub, I don't think, maybe he upped his pricing, but it's like $10 or $15 or $20 right now. Like he just made like 2x on 2 coins today to his community. RB3, he's got like $5 subs. I made my $5 subscription back for 10 years worth of subscriptions in my first day in that community.
Yeah.
So, I mean, guys, like if you want massive alpha, you want to support the right creators, then, Altcoinist already now is the place to be, even though we only have 50 guys there. But, the goal for us is to be the aggregate of the most alpha individuals and be the aggregate of information and symmetry for everyone in the space.
Christian, Constantine, thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate the invite.
Guys, if you're watching this on Spotify, head over to YouTube. On YouTube, I will have their descriptions, their X account, and actually a link to their app, so you can also lurk around and see what creators are out there, and you can join. Also, you'll have X's or our X account there as well to learn more about Late Night on Base. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. It's super free and helps us grow the channel, and so we can produce more banger content on the regular. Until next time, everyone, take care.